And that brings us to the ultimate question. What is Apache Iceberg? Well, I've mentioned that it's a table format. We know what a table format is now, but Apache Iceberg brings a lot of things to the table as a table format. Like, how does it actually achieve being a table format? Well, Apache Iceberg does this through standards by being sort of an open standard. Okay, it doesn't necessarily provide you the actual direct tools, but instead the rule book by which data should be this metadata should be written, and it's a community-driven data lakehouse table format. What does that mean by community-driven? This is where the word Apache in the Apache Iceberg becomes really important. So if you're unfamiliar, Apache is referring to the Apache Software Foundation. So the history goes like this. Once upon a time, there was this web server project called Apache that powers most web servers on the web. That became an open source project, and they built this whole foundation to keep it independent because it being such an integral piece of the internet. And this foundation then grew to become a place where open source projects that are the pillars of how everything else gets built to be sort of housed in one place where they can be independent from sort of other commercial interests. So that way no one company co-ops the pillars that the industry is built on. Okay, so generally Apache projects, when something is Apache X, it's an open source project that has achieved several milestones as far as active development, as far as diverse contributions, meaning different companies are contributing it. No one company really kind of controls the direction of the project. So you know that when you see the word Apache, that is a community-driven project. Apache isn't the only open source foundation that provides these kind of services for open source projects, in the sense of being able to place to house assets like intellectual property in order to be a place to get guidance and assistance with fostering the open source project. But it is the one sort of with some of the most rigorous standards and sort of expectations of the projects in its portfolio. So generally seeing like Apache before the name of a particular open source project is very much like the gold standard in knowing, hey, this is a project that's going to be around for a long time because it has that active development, and two, be independent because it has the community behind it. So very important to see that sort of Apache brand when you see Apache Iceberg. But not only that, the Apache Iceberg project itself basically provides the actual metadata specification. So part of it is saying, hey, here's the standard way that metadata should be written. Now we'll give you tools to help you write that metadata and be able to apply that standard, but you don't have to use our tools. You could theoretically write your own Apache Iceberg readers or writers to write the metadata, read the metadata, but they'll create their own in many different languages to make it easier for you to build Apache Iceberg functionality into your tools. And these languages where you can find the Apache Iceberg libraries to help you build that support include the Iceberg Java API, the Iceberg Python API, the newer Iceberg Go and Rust APIs. So these are essentially language implementations where they are creating the tools to be able to write Iceberg metadata and to read Iceberg metadata. That way different query engines and other data processing tools can build that Iceberg support. So if you see the project, so when you think of the part that's the open source project, it's creating the specification and creating the language implementations to help people be able to adopt that specification. And newer to the project is this whole catalog open API specification. So essentially, we're going to have a whole discussion of catalogs a little bit later on, but the idea is that they've created a universal way for catalogs that track Iceberg tables to be able to communicate, making it easier for there to be a diverse sort of ecosystem of catalogs along with the diverse ecosystem of tools that support Apache Iceberg, which is all pretty exciting. So that's the scope of the Apache Iceberg project. So again, Apache Iceberg is an open source project, and these are the things that are sort of within the scope of what it builds and provides a community. And then everyone else who creates tools that work with data can then choose to use the specification, use the APIs, use the catalog spec to build into their tooling. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.